Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Throw out your Furby and put down that nerd book that's never going to take off. It's 1998 and we're going to the movies. 1998 was stacked with great movies coming out. Saving Private Ryan, The Big Lebowski, The Avengers. The Avengers, you say? Is this my Avengers? Is this part of the MCU? Why is Sean Connery wearing a bear costume? Why is Black Widow's belt so big? My answer to all of these questions is the same. Stop it. We're not here to talk about the Avengers, thank God. We're here to talk about The Truman Show.
That's amazing.
The Truman Show is my favorite movie from 1998. You heard me, SPR. It's definitely the movie that I have come back to the most, time and time again, to rewatch. And I gotta tell you, every time I watch this movie, I get something new out of it. And honestly, when I think of Jim Carrey's filmography, I think I enjoyed this movie a lot more than a lot of his comedies. It's a perfectly crafted, artistic movie with a Jim Carrey rapper. For a movie about a reality show about a guy that has no idea he's on a reality show, it is surprisingly emotional and poignant and is able to cram so many different themes into one movie. This could have easily have taken a turn into pure comedy or really dark dystopian weirdness, but it doesn't. It finds the perfect median. And I think a lot of that has to do with the cast. This movie has a lot to say, and above all else, it wants to say that reality TV is weird and probably not very good for us. And whether you agree with that or not, it is an absolute blast to watch it play out. So let's get right into it. Make no mistake, there are tons of behind the scenes stuff with this movie, but these are 5 of my favorite.
I hereby proclaim this planet Trumania.
The Trumania bit, where Carrey draws on the mirror with soap and acts like a Martian, was entirely ad-libbed for him. Apparently there's multiple takes of him ad-libbing and making jokes in the mirror like this. Despite trying to channel a more dramatic performance, he was still able to get back to his comedic roots with this role, although it had a limit. Apparently on set, no one was able to quote Carrey's classic comedic lines to him to break him out of his dramatic headspace. This is understandable. It seems like it would be a weird thing for people to just be quoting your famous lines to you all the time. But it went even further. If you were to even mention Carrey's previous comedic roles, you would risk being thrown off the set, which seems a little on the extreme side even for an artist. But hey, I'm sure Carrey will end up being a totally normal and well-adjusted person.
There's no meaning to any of this.
Enclosed in the largest studio ever constructed, and along with the Great Wall of China, one of only 2 man-made structures visible from space.
The prop department absolutely killed it on this one. There are tons of little details and props that hint at the fact that Truman is on his own show in a fake town. You can look a lot of them up, there are tons of them. But my favorite one is the bottle of vitamin D. In this scene, you can see Truman and Meryl's kitchen table, which has sitting right there a bottle of vitamin D supplements. Now, most people wouldn't need vitamin D, as long as you are regularly outside and getting the vitamin D you need from the sun. But Truman, living in a dome devoid of any actual sunlight, would of course not have any exposure to the sun in his entire life. So someone without any real sun exposure would need a regular dosage of vitamin D. And there it is.
Maybe I'm being set up for something. You ever think about that, Marlon? Like your whole life has been building towards something? No.
According to a 2008 New York Times article, psychologists in Britain and the United States reported a number of people experiencing Truman syndrome, the belief that they are an unwitting star of their own reality TV show. In 2008, a psychiatrist shared that he had met 5 schizophrenic patients and heard of another dozen who believed their lives were reality television shows. One patient even climbed the Statue of Liberty, believing that his high school girlfriend would be at the top, which was the key to him being able to leave the show. Many of these patients only reported having these symptoms after seeing the movie. I think we all had an existential crisis after seeing this movie. Seems some more than others.
We have had our close calls in the past.
Truman! It's television! Yes! Yes! I did it! On the Truman Show!
Apparently there were a lot of changes to the screenplay before it actually was finalized. There were as many as 16 rewrites of the script. Many of the changes were to minimize the elaborate nature of the initial screenplay. The original script had Truman living in an exact recreation of the entire city of New York. This was changed to make the movie seem less sci-fi. And director Peter Weir had notes for projectionists when the movie would go to theaters. Apparently he wanted cameras to be installed in every theater that the movie would be shown. And at one point during the movie, the projectionist would cut to these cameras, showing the actual audience that is watching the movie at that moment. Pretty meta.
Was nothing real?
You were real. That's what made you so good to watch.
Originally, Dennis Hopper was cast as Kristoff. For an unknown reason, the first day on set, he walked off and never returned. Producers then had to scramble to get their second choice, Ed Harris, cast and brought on set in only a few days. It's hard to imagine the movie without Ed Harris. Similarly, the movie could just as easily have had a different director. Before Peter Weir was finally decided on, Brian De Palma was the favorite to direct as early as 1994. When De Palma left due to issues with his talent agency, several others were brought in and considered for directing the movie, including Tim Burton, Terry Gilliam, Steven Spielberg, and Sam Raimi, before Weir was finally signed. Can you imagine what this movie would have looked like if Tim Burton directed it? Actually, I think we all know what it would have looked like. What did you think of this movie? Is it good, bad, overrated, underrated? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you like this video and want more movie content. If you do subscribe, let me know in the comments. I'd love to thank you. And don't forget to follow on social media for more bite-sized movie coverage. Thanks for watching.